Hello, good people. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the sunrise. I am Pastor Keith, and thank you guys for coming back once again to our 5-minute Bible study. What we do here at Sunrise with our 5-minute Bible study is we try to get you to come in and give us a little bit of your time. We just need 0.3% of your day for you to be able to get some word in you, for you to be able to get something that's going to help you, for you to be able to spend some time, for you to learn some stuff about God, and for God to be able to spend a little bit of time with you, all wrapped up in 5 minutes. I don't really think there's anything better than that on the internet. So we appreciate you coming back with us. This is going to be part 3 of what we've been studying right now, which is the book of Jonah. And so we're going to put the time clock right here so that we can stay honest and true to what we said. 5 minutes on the clock. We are ready. God's ready. Let's hit it. And so here we are in chapter number 3 of Jonah. Jonah is one of the prophets. What I love about this book of Jonah is that in a lot of the other prophets, they talk about the prophecy and the message that God gave to the prophet. In this one, it's really dealing with the prophet himself and honestly dealing with you and about what you have going on with you and how it can affect your messaging and all of that when God needs to use you to speak to those that you don't like. Everybody has those people in their life that they really would not care to be around and do stuff for. And that's where we find Jonah in chapter 3. So he's heading over to Nineveh. Now, it says here in Jonah chapter 3, verse number 1, it says, "Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah for a second time. Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I give you." God said, let's rewind, and let me give you a second shot at this, okay? We're going to try this again. Hopefully you can get it right this time, Jonah. And he does. Verse number 3, it says, Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord, and went to Nineveh. Now, Nineveh was a very large city. It took 3 days to go through it. Jonah began by going a day's journey into the city and proclaiming, 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. God gave Jonah a simple message. That's all he wanted him to do. That simple thing. And it took him on this roundabout journey that we've talked about in part 1 and part 2. And here he is at this part. Now, what happens, though, is amazing. In chapter 1, God used what Jonah did to make unbelievers. He used his flaws and his disobedience to make some unbelievers. God doubles down in chapter 3, and he shows what he can do with obedience. Nineveh was a huge city, and by Jonah simply doing what God told him to do, this is what happened. The king, in verse number 6, it says, when Jonah's message reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne and took off his royal clothes, covered himself in a sackcloth, and sat down in the dust and proclaimed for Nineveh to repent. He sent out a whole decree that even the animals had to repent for their wickedness. This was the impact God was trying to show Jonah and trying to show us of when we are in partnership with him, what can happen when you do exactly what God tells you to do. My first question that I want you guys to think about with all this is Jonah's pettiness could have cost thousands of people their lives and their destruction. Is it really worth it? Is your grudge and your pettiness and the people that you don't like, is it really worth the result of what was going to come about from all this? Did you even think that far about what could happen because of your disobedience, just because you don't like someone? Is it really that serious to you that people can be destroyed simply because you don't like them? We're going to jump all the way down to verse number 10. In verse number 10, it says, when God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he relented and did not bring on them the destruction he had threatened. Again, the book of Jonah is really talking more about the prophet and speaking directly to us. It's another message and a reminder that in spite of what it may look like, God told Jonah that the wickedness of Nineveh was going to get them destroyed. But because they decided to change what they did, turn around their ways, and actually shift from what they were doing, God pulled back what he said he was getting ready to do. That's a word for us. That no matter how far you've gone, how messed up you've been, you always have an opportunity to turn yourself around and ask God to forgive you, ask God to take back, ask God to show some mercy and some grace. He just may relent on what it is he's getting ready to do. You have no idea what is at stake. And so with that being said, we got Petty Jonah finally doing what he's supposed to do. We're going to jump into to number 4 next week, and we're going to see how this whole story wraps up with the prophet Jonah and his pettiness when it goes wrong.